Hi fellow beaders, I'm back. It's another week of a tutorial, and this week's tutorial is going to be a ring. And I haven't done a ring yet so far in my videos. Mostly I've done earrings and bracelets. So I thought today I would do this ring. And this is a fairly simple ring. It's just I've taken a Swarovski crystal rivoli and I've bezeled it and then just did a little embellishment. I call this my sunflower ring. I mean, the colors look great. The crystal that I'm using is vitrol or vitrol, depending on however it's pronounced. And I've just done this with seed beads. So I've got some size 11 and 15/0 seed beads. I've done a peyote band, and it's a really nice looking ring and just looks great on your hand when you wear it. Anyway, so today I'm gonna show you how to do that ring. We're gonna use crystal rivoli here. So this is a 14mm rivoli, and in addition to that, you're just gonna need some size 11/0 seed beads in whatever colors you want. So I'm using this sort of rainbow gray color here. I've got 15/0s in the same matching color over here, and I'm going to use a peach, which I think is going to go really nicely with the gray. I think the two color combination is going to come out really well. And so let's get started. I'm going to move that over. Anyway, what you want to do is, if you're using the 14mm rivoli, you want to string 30 of your size 11/0 seed beads and make a ring. So I've already done that here. So 30, and that's it. That's all you've done. I've got a little bit of a tail. The tail will come in handy to help you hold the piece. And then what we're going to do is we're going to peyote. Now, if you've not done peyote before, it's actually a very simple stitch. What you do is you pick up a bead, and now my thread is coming out of this bead, so I'm going to skip the next bead and I'm going to go through the bead after that. So you're basically skipping a bead and you're going through it. And here you go. So that's all you're going to do. Beads will line up. You really have to keep your tension very tight in order for this to work. Also, the seed beads that I'm using are Toho seed beads. They're just another Japanese company, just like Mayuki. And so again, my thread is coming out of this seed bead. I'm going to skip this one, and I've put the needle through the one after that. And all you're doing is you're going to go all the way around. So you're going to be doing this 15 times because you have 30 beads. So if you're skipping every other bead essentially, then you're doing this 15 times. So one more time. So thread's coming out of this bead. I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to insert this one. And there you go. So go ahead and keep going, go all the way around, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so if you've continued on, then this is what your ring should look like. I've got one more bead here that I need to enter. So my thread's coming out of this bead. I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to enter into that bead. And there you have it. And as I said, you want to keep the tension very tight, and this is what you should have so far to get your bezel made. Now, one thing I know I forgot to tell you guys when I first started was that I'm using a 6-pound fireline, and I used about half a wingspan, so the length of maybe one arm and maybe halfway across your chest or something if you measure based on just arm span or like, as I say, wingspan. And I'm using a size 10 English beading needle. But you can use whatever thread or needle you like. You could use wildfire thread also. Anyway, to continue, you're gonna now have to step up into your next round. So you're coming out of this bead here, and you are going to step up. Just so all you do is just go into the next bead from the most recent round that you just added, and that's it. Now you're ready to continue on. So you're gonna add another row of size 11 O's, one more row. So you're going to go all the way around one more time. So, and then really this time it should get a lot easier to do the peyote stitch because you got these little gaps that you're just going to be filling in essentially, but you are still just doing peyote. So beads coming out of this one, and we're going to skip over this one here, and we're going to go through that one. So a lot simpler. Let me show you one more time, and then I'm going to have you go all the way around. So if you saw that, and you want to start giving it a tug because you want to start tightening this up. So you want it as close as possible. Okay, keep going, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so I finished another round, and as you can see, it's starting to curve, which is what you want. So as you're going, you want to be giving this a tug, and that'll start to kind of curve, as you can see over here. So I've got one more bead to add in this round, and so I'm going to add that bead. Give this a good tug, and then we're going to step up to the next round. Okay, so now we've stepped up, so I'm going to have you switch to using 15 O's now. So we're going to do 2 rounds with 15 O's. So, and this is where tension really becomes important now, because this is going to help hold, these are going to help hold the rivoli in place. And so now that we stepped up, you're just going to continue with the peyote, just like so. If you can see that. And you really want to give this a good tug. And go all the way around. You're going to do this twice, but I'll come back in a second after you do one round of the 15 O's. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I have one more 15 O to add on this round, and then I can step up and go to my next round. So you can see I've got one more that I'm going to go into this 11 O. And then I'm going to step up into the 15 O from this last round that I just added. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go around all the way with the 15 O's and tightening this up. Once I've done that, then we're going to be ready to kind of fit our rivoli in and just essentially finish up the bezel, and then I'll show you how to decorate it. Okay, so go ahead and go all the way around again with one more row of 15 O's. Okay, so if you've done your second round of 15 O's, then here's where you're at. I've got one more bead to add, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And okay, so if you've kept the tension nice and tight, you should get this nice round, there should be a curve to this piece. Now, take your rivoli, and you are going to turn it you have it face down, and you're going to pop it in to this. So, and if you've done this correctly, it's going to be tight, and that's what you want. You want it to be tight. Oops, sorry, went out of frame there. So you just gotta shift the beads a little and push it in, and there we go. Okay, so it's in. I just gotta get it centered. And there you have it. So I'm just trying to get it kind of centered there, but there you go. And this doesn't hide the color. Nice. I think this is one of the things I like about it, is that it doesn't cover up too much of the rivoli. This way, when I use just the couple of rows of 15 O's. And now the next step is to kind of get it centered, and it should just it'll fix itself when you add the next set around. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add 15 O's to this other side now. Okay, so your thread is coming out of a bead down here, so it's coming out of a 15-0 over here. So here's mine. It's coming out of this 15-0. So I'm just going to go work my thread all the way down to this side here. So I'm just going to go, basically you're kind of going at a diagonal. So this is, I'm going to go through this 11-0. And this one. And the next one is here in the diagonal, and then I'm going to go through two, I guess, here. So these two. And now you're at this side. So we're just going to basically add 2 rounds of 15 O's, just like we did on the opposite side, to kind of tighten this side up now. Okay, so if you're coming out of an 11-0 here, all you're going to do is continue with your peyote just like you did before, and you're just going to go into the next, you're going to skip one and go into the next one, like so. Well, I'm trying not to touch the face of my rivoli, but I don't get fingerprints on that, but I did clean it. But I can come back and clean it again. Anyway, keep going. 2 rounds on this side. I'll finish up this round, and then I'll come back and we'll step up together, and then we'll start the next round. Okay, so I'm just adding the last bead in this round. I did 1 round of 15 O's on this side. And I'm coming out of an 11-0 here, and I'm just going to step up into my 15 O's, my round of 15 O's that I just added. And I'm going to go ahead and add 1 more round of 15 O's to make sure this rivoli is completely secure. And that's it. We're going to, as far as the bezel goes, that'll be it. And then I'll show you how to decorate the ring the way I did here with this one. Okay, so keep going, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, fellow beaders, if you finished up 2 rounds on this side of the 15-0 seed beads, then this is what it should look like. And here's your other side. It should look should look good, and it should have centered itself just from adding those beads. Anyway, now to add the decoration. So what we're gonna do is, and actually decorating the rest of this rivoli or this bezeled rivoli is going to be is actually fairly simple. So you're going to be coming out of a 15-0 bead here once you've added in your last one, and I'm going to have you move up just one of the to the 11-0 beads. Like so. So just one over. It's going to be a bit tight, and that's what you want to do. So when I made this ring, I did a picot essentially as part of my layers. So I've basically done 3 layers of picots essentially to get this ring made. So I've got this sort of rainbow purple layer here, and then I did a turquoise layer, and then I did another rainbow layer, and they're all sort of offset so that you can see each of the 3 layers in the ring, and so just to kind of give it a nice effect. And I think this is why it kind of reminds me of a sunflower. Anyway, so to do this, basically what we're going to do is doing a picot is like doing a peyote stitch. And here what you're going to do is you're going to pick up 7 beads, and then you're going to skip over about 3 beads and pop into this bead over here. So let's do this. It's 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to skip over this one, double check. Yeah, I've skipped over 3. So basically I skip this one, this one, this one, and I'm going to go into this one here. So you're gonna try to stay within the same row of your 11 O's. So you're not gonna just okay. There we go. So there you go, there's your first picot. And now you're going to pick up 7 more. And so we're coming out of that one, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to come out of this one here. And again, 7. So we're coming out of this one, so 1, 2, 3, and there's our 4th bead here that we're coming. So, and just note that I'm still staying within that last row. Alright, you're going to be able to do this a total of 8 times, so go ahead and keep going. Okay, so if you've added all your petals, it should actually be a total of 7. I know I said 8, but apparently I can't count. So you should do this a total of 7 times. Now you're coming out of this bead and there is a little bit of a gap here compared to the others, and that's okay. That's actually not going to be a huge issue because of the layers that we're going to be adding on. So what you're going to do is, if you're coming out of this bead here, you're going to go back up into this bead, which is where your first petal that you made is coming out of. So just work your thread or work your needle through. And you can do it both 2 beads or 1 bead at a time, not a big deal, and just go through that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go up 3 of these beads within the petal. You're going to skip bead number 4 and you are going to go down the next 3 beads within the petal. And what this is going to do is give you that point, give you a point to the petal. So make sure you give it a good tug. So you can see this has got now a nice point to it. So because the rest of these petals are kind of rounded, and you don't want that. You want to get that point. And so now I'm going to go into the bead in my bezel. So this is going to be a bit tricky to do this, but so you are going into the bead in which your petals, your one set of petals are coming out of and the next set of petals are starting. So go into that bead, and I got 2. So the reason this is getting tricky is because you'll end up picking up more beads than you'll end up picking up the adjacent beads, the needle will. So we can try, so I'm going through 2 of these and that's not what I want, but what we're going to do is sometimes it's easier to back out of the bead than to try to kind of maneuver around it. So now we're coming out of the bead that we want here, and so again you're going to go up 3 of the beads in this petal like so, and you're going to skip the 4th bead and you're going to go down the next 3, and if you can pick up that last bead that's part of the bezel, but actually I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do it one at a time. So give it a tug and you should be able to create that point that you create the point. Now we'll go into the bead that connects our petals to the bezel, and this is what makes this so kind of a complicated ring to work with. So again, I picked up 2, but that's okay. I'm just going to back out of that second one that I picked up. So, and just tug so that your petals are lining up nice and nicely. And now I just got to back out this 1 bead, and I can go up my 3 beads now on this next petal. And skip bead number 4 and go down 3. Okay, so there you go. Just keep going. Go through the 7 petals that you have a total. So I'm on number 4, so I've got 3 more after that one. And then we'll go and do our next round. Okay, so I've got my petals all pointy now. So the next step is to start our next round, our next layer of petals. And all you're going to do to start off this next round is you're coming out of this bead, which is where this last petal is attached, and you're just going to go up diagonally into the next row, peyote row, essentially. So you're still in the 11 O's. And now you're going to pick up 3. So in this case, I'm using my peach bead. So if you're using a second color, I'd say go ahead and pick up 3. And you're just going to go into the next bead here. So essentially you're in the same row. So you're skipping, I guess if you want to look at it, you're skipping 1 bead. And there you have it. So, okay, I was just double checking to make sure I did that correctly. And so you're coming out of this bead here, and you're going to go into the next one over. And give it a nice tight pull. Pick up 3. Here's our bead. So we're just going to go over. Oh, you're twisted. No wonder you don't. And there you have it. So those are my 3 petals. You should be able to do a total of 15 for this round. Okay, if you've gone through the whole round, then this is what your round should look like. You should get now you should have a round of peach colored petals or whatever your second color is, and this is all what it should look like. So now you're going to step up to do our last round here. So we're just gonna, so you're coming out of this bead here, this gray bead, and we're just gonna go diagonally up into the next row. And this is where you should be. Now to do this last round, we're actually gonna do, we're gonna use some of the 15 O's of the gray color again. So I'm going to use one 15-0, an 11-0, and then a 15-0. And we're basically doing the same thing we just did with the peach color beads. And so you're just going to skip a bead and go into a bead in the next row. So it should still be in the same round, but it's still the same round, so you're just skipping an 11-0 in between here. Anyway, let me show you again. So you're going to pick up a 15-0, 11-0, 15-0. So we're coming out of this bead, I'm skipping this one, and we're going into this one. And we're going to do that all the way around. And you should get, again, 15 petals to make for this last. So this is our last round. And that's what it should look like. You guys can see that. Colors are blending a little bit, but if you can see it here, I guess you're going to get the same problem, but essentially I used, it's kind of offset, so the peaks are a little bit offset. They're kind of coming up in between the peaks of these petals. So if you can see that there, I think is better, easier. So keep going, and all we have left to do is make the peyote ring band now. Once you've added on your last petal, go ahead and you're going to start weaving your thread away into these beads. So you can tie half-inch knots if you want. I don't think it's necessary because the beading is very tight. And it should not be visible, and it shouldn't get undone at all. And you can change directions. Okay, I'm going to end there. I'm just going to clip it off. Get as close as you can. And there you go. So at least the bezel part is done. Now, what you're going to do is get a new thread, probably about the same length as you started with, about half a wingspan. And we are going to make the ring band. And the way to do this is you're just going to weave your thread in. And you're going to pick one of the sides of a petal, your bottom petal here, and we are going to weave okay, so I've got my thread coming out of a bead here. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a peyote band. So my peyote band is 4 wide is what I did here. And basically I just started on one side and worked my way across to the length that I needed. So we are going to get this thread knotted, or I guess kind of just make a zigzag. So I'm going into a 15-0 here from the first, not the first round here, not the very last round rather, but the second round. And I'm going to come back up the same 11-0 that I was coming out of. So that kind of secures my thread for now, just so I can get started here. So leave a tail, you can secure even further. Okay, now what's nice is since we've already done this as peyote, this should be fairly easy to do. I've got my thread secured, and what we're going to do is pick up a seed bead, and so we're coming out of this bead, which is part of this petal, and we're just going to go over to the next bead here. And so this is not going to be easy to do. I can tell you guys that right now. This is actually kind of a tough, it's a tough location, I guess, because it's kind of on a curve, but just to get it started is tough. Once you get going, you should be okay. I'm just okay, there we go. Whew. That's one. Gonna pick up another one and go through this one that's attached to the other side of the same petal. So here's our petal, here's one. We're coming out of this one, we added one. And now we're gonna come out of the other part of this petal, which okay, so there's our two beads right there. And then what you're going to do is turn around, and you're just going to go down the bead that you just added. And then you're going to pick up another one and go down the one you just go down the first one. And there you go. Now you got 4 beads, and we're just going to turn back around and peyote. So you can see there's a little bit of a peyote band right there forming. One more time, now we're turning around again. And next one. So can you see that? See how I did that? I hope that was clear to you guys, because that's just, I mean, it's kind of a tricky part. I mean, you just got to get your thread secure, and you're coming out of one bead, you pick up a bead, And that's all you're doing. So, and that's it. Now you're just going to keep going back and forth. This is just a 4-bead peyote. And make the band to your desired length. And I'll see you, and I'll show you how to secure it onto the other side. Okay. Once you've got your band made, so here's what my band looks like. And what you're going to do is actually really simple. You're just going to zip your band up. You want to make sure that you're in the right position. So the way to zip this up is to just kind of go across and see where it goes. So what it basically does is goes across to this petal is the way I look at it. And so in order to zip this, you're coming out of this last bead here on your band, and you are going to go into the bead in which the petals, these two petals, are attached. And we are going to, as I said, zip the band. So this is going to be tight, and I'm just going to let go of the band for a second just so you guys can see what I'm doing. And also make sure I'm not picking up another bead because it's kind of a nuisance to and it wants to pick up this other bead. If I can just get the right angle. Hopefully not break my bead, because I would be very sad right now if one of my beads broke. Okay, there we go. So I just got the one bead. So make sure there isn't a twist in it. And now I'm going to go into the next bead in my band here. And make sure you're pulling tight. And now the next bead you're going to go into is this bead here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's sort of in the, it's sort of directly below, like this. It's just in the center of this petal here. And that is and then we're going to do the last bead on the band. Okay, so if you guys can see that, I haven't pulled it very tight yet. So now we're going to turn this around. So in order to tighten this up a little bit more, is what you're going to do is you're actually going to go into, you're going back in this direction. You're going to go back into, and the bead now that you're going to go into is the bead that is kind of holding these two petals on this side now. So this is going to be tricky to get through or even see, but if you can see, it's this bead right here that I'm going to go through. And if you happen to pick up a bunch of other beads, don't worry about it. We'll just work our way back out. At this point, so there it is. I think I'm picking up another bead in between, but that's okay. And pull. So your bead's nice and secure. I went kind of through this peach petal here. Come out of there. So I just went through an extra bead, so I'm just trying to work my needle back out. Okay, so there we go. Now you're gonna tug and make sure this is secure, and it should feel very, very firm. And so the bead you need to come out of now, or go into rather, is this one here. And now you're going to back through that center bead. Oops, sorry. So this is the bead you should be coming out of now. And you're going to go back through the bead that's in the middle of the petals here. Let's see if we can find another. Okay, never mind. Can't seem to find another needle right now. Anyway, it's this bead right there that we're going through. Alright, so I'm coming out of that middle bead, and now I'm going to go into this bead on my band. And the last bead I need to go to is right on the bezel here, which is the bead where we first started attaching this band, this side of the band. And that's this bead that's in between, and it's going to be kind of tricky to get to it. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to go back into the band right here, and we're just going to secure the thread. So there you go. You've created basically, it's very seamless. You shouldn't really, I mean, it's just peyote. You've been doing, I mean, been doing peyote anyway with the bezel, so now you're just doing, and so adding the band should look very seamless, even though it's a bit tricky to do. So I'm just sewing into the bands, kind of at a zigzag or diagonal, I guess, just so I can get my thread secure. And here I'm just going to do a 1/2 inch knot in this bridge here. one more half-inch knot, so I do it right here at the edge. And then just weave in. And there you go. And you're going to weave this other thread in the same way. Just weave it into the band, this other side. This is your starting point. And you should have a completed ring. Oop, got my little petals smashed. Okay, there we go. And there's your ring. So I hope this tutorial was clear, and this is my other one. And a couple of different color combinations. Alright, well, if you guys like this, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up sign. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.